Welcome to Mindset Matters Book Club YouTube channel. Please subscribe to hear new book summaries.
We're so glad you're here.
Today we are tackling a deep dive into a topic that I think it's safe to say affects absolutely everyone listening.
Oh, for sure.
It's about how we move from having a truly brilliant idea to, actually having a tangible finished product.
That gap, that huge gap between thinking and doing.
Exactly. And we're unpacking the insights from Daniel Walter's book, How to Stop Procrastinating. Powerful strategies to overcome laziness and multiply your time.
In this book, it's really more than just a self-help guide. I'd call it a blueprint for human action.
A blueprint, I like that.
Our mission for this deep dive is tailored specifically for you, the listener. We want to extract the exact cognitive and tactical tools you need to finally bridge that painful gap.
But we're looking squarely at why we struggle to execute, aren't we? The book makes a really definitive point on this.
It does. Procrastination is almost never about a lack of ability or even intelligence.
It's not that you can't do it.
Not at all. It is almost exclusively a battle against psychological habits and, well, the tactical barriers we build ourselves.
And to really ground this discussion, I think we have to look at the classic procrastinator. I mean, the person who is just paralyzed by possibility. Let's talk about the story of Janet from the book.
Janet, yes.
So Janet was absolutely miserable at her job. She was constantly fantasizing about quitting and launching her own delivery-only restaurant. She had a real passion for cooking.
And she took that crucial first step, right? She decided to act. She couldn't just quit her job, so she took a 2-week vacation with a really ambitious plan.
Super ambitious. She was going to tackle all the deep, messy work of starting a business.
Things like researching finance management, understanding tax codes, writing a market analysis, sourcing supplies, all of it.
But the moment that vacation started, well, those ideas just stayed trapped in her head. The complexity of it all, leases, business filings, taxes. It was just so overwhelming.
It created a total psychological roadblock.
A huge one. So instead of, say, spending 1 hour researching tax law, what did she do?
The easy stuff.
She slept in, did routine housework, played with her daughter, and caught up on gossip.
And just like that, 2 weeks of precious carved-out time gone, vanished. Absolutely nothing was accomplished toward her dream.
The book calls this a dream killer. And it's so important to understand this isn't just a simple case of laziness, is it?
Not at all. It was a systemic, almost predictable failure to follow through. The whole system broke down.
The engine seized up before she even turned the key. So before we get into the tactics, what was the underlying structural failure here? If she had the passion and the time, what components were missing?
She was missing the 4 fundamental traits required to convert intention into reality. We have to look at the architecture of following through before we can even start fixing the cracks in the foundation.
Walter uses this really wonderful, if simple, analogy in the book. He compares these traits to body parts, which I think really helps visualize how they all depend on one another. Let's start with the head.
Right, the head, which represents focus.
And what does that mean exactly?
Focus is the ultimate rudder. It steers every single one of your thoughts and actions toward a singular goal. It makes sure your effort is targeted and never, ever dissipated.
So it's that tunnel vision we hear about.
It is. It's a conscious refusal to let all those peripheral distractions divert your energy.
And looking back at Janet, she had the goal, but she completely lacked that tunnel vision.
Completely. She spent those 2 weeks doing the things she wanted to do, the fun, easy maintenance stuff, instead of the hard, required steps like calling accountants or researching leases.
Though all her effort was scattered.
And wasted, which immediately impacts the next component, the spine.
Which is self-discipline.
Exactly. And the analogy is perfect. If you break your spine, the entire body collapses. Self-discipline is that strong backbone you need to overcome procrastination.
Because it's the ability to control your actions, your thoughts, your feelings, even when comfort is just screaming your name.
I think this is the trait people struggle with the most because it requires you to act against your immediate emotional state. You have to sit down and do the necessary thing, even when you absolutely do not feel like doing it.
That's the hard part.
And this is where the relationship between the head and the spine becomes so critical. Focus gives you the target, but self-discipline that gives you the internal strength, the psychological muscle to keep the body moving forward.
So it resists the temptations that lead to disorder.
Precisely. If you're not focused, your discipline has nothing specific to execute against. And if you lack discipline, well, your focus is just easily broken.
And the book makes a good point about leisure, too. It's essential we have to recharge.
Of course.
But when that leisure starts to hijack productive time
Yeah.
and it becomes your default setting, it stops being a healthy break and it just becomes a chronic vice.
Which leads us directly to the hands and feet.
Action.
Yes, prioritizing execution. This is the actual movement that takes your dreams from point A, the idea, to point B, the reality. It makes them tangible.
Without action, you're just trapped in theory forever.
And this is where we can challenge that paralyzing feeling Janet had. Action doesn't have to mean these massive, terrifying leaps.
Right. That feeling of overwhelm is what stopped her.
But if she had just committed to 1 hour, 3 times a day, say 8 a.m., 1 p.m., and 7 p.m. to read about tax laws, that's 3 hours of solid, measurable progress. It's all about leveraging small, tactical actions.
That's the physics of productivity, isn't it?
It is. Action breeds momentum. The book is very clear. Once you eliminate inertia and get the ball rolling, the desire to stop decreases significantly. The human mind naturally seeks completion, but you have to force that first rotation.
And finally, we have the heart.
Persistence. This is the tenacity you need to refuse to give up when obstacles inevitably arise.
Anyone can start.
But only those with heart can finish. And here's the sad irony in Janet's story. We can't even measure her persistence because she never got to the starting line.
Right. She never faced an obstacle because she never took the first step.
Exactly. Persistence only becomes relevant once you encounter a real challenge, a difficult client, a funding setback, a bad quarter. Janet's failure happened at the pre-action stage, all due to a lack of focus and discipline. Her entire architecture failed before the very first stress test.
Okay, so if those 4 components, focus, self-discipline, action, and persistence, are the necessary architecture, what are the specific, detailed barriers that prevent them from working?
The book identifies 2 main categories for this failure to follow through. You've got the external, which it calls inhibiting tactics, and the internal, psychological barriers.
Let's start with those inhibiting tactics. These are the excuses or self-sabotaging behaviors, right? Often related to poor planning.
That's it. And the first one is huge, setting the wrong goals.
So if your goal is abstract or completely unrealistic, it's like putting the wrong zip code into the GPS.
You're just going to wander aimlessly and eventually quit out of frustration. And we love abstract goals, don't we?
Why is that?
Because they feel aspirational without demanding any immediate commitment. I want to be a millionaire, or I want to improve my health. These are desires, not blueprints.
You have the want, but no actionable steps attached.
And then you have the unrealistic goals. I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 1 week. It's a goal that is guaranteed to fail.
And the book points out that the certainty of failure becomes a comfortable, ready-made excuse for never even trying to climb the ladder.
It's self-protection disguised as ambition.
Wow. The second tactic is poor time management. We all have the same 24 hours.
But poor management is a systemic lack of scheduling, poor judgment, and crucially, a failure to prioritize effectively. We end up being busy, but not productive.
And good time management, the book argues, is essentially a modern superpower.
It has to be because of the overwhelming distraction landscape we live in. Poor management really involves 2 things. Systematically underestimating how long a project will take and constantly engaging in non-essential tasks.
What we called pointless motion earlier.
Exactly. It feels like work, but has no end goal. This creates a domino effect. One delay causes panic, which causes rushed, low-quality work, which then impacts the next task. It's a cascading failure.
And the third tactic is engaging in distractions or temptations. These are the glittery detour signs, as the book calls them.
Netflix, gaming, social media. We have to acknowledge that the road to success is often, well, kind of boring, and the detours are highly entertaining.
So what's the solution?
The book clarifies that the problem isn't the temptation itself, it's our inability to manage it. We don't need to live like monks. We just need to develop moderation and strategic barriers.
Like shutting off notifications or using focus mode.
Or even dedicating a specific timed block during a break to leisure. It's about managing the temptation instead of letting it manage you.
Okay, so let's move from the tactics to the internal architecture. These are the psychological roadblocks, the unconscious barricades. The first one is profound. A lack of self-awareness.
This is all driven by the fear of leaving the comfort zone.
Fear of making a mistake, fear of the unknown.
And it results in stagnation, where all your potential is just trapped inside. The most insidious part of this is that we actively avoid the hard work while maintaining the illusion that we're working hard on the periphery.
We rationalize our comfort zone.
We do. Only by stepping back and asking, am I actually moving toward my goal, or am I just avoiding the next scary step? Can we break that cycle of unconscious avoidance?
And the second one, this one often masks itself as a virtue.
Oh, yes. Perfectionism due to insecurity.
This is perfectly captured by the story of Jason in the book. Jason wanted a promotion, and he dedicated years to building the perfect resume, post-grad classes, certifications, seminars.
From the outside, he looked like a model of industriousness, didn't he? But 2 years in, he still hadn't submitted the application.
So the goal wasn't really perfection.
The goal was avoidance. His perfectionism was rooted in a deep insecurity and a paralyzing fear of not being good enough. All that energy spent on credentialing was just a defense mechanism to delay the moment of judgment.
So much effort, but the result was complete stagnation.
It sounds exhausting. It is, because the mind prefers the known path of continuous preparation over the unknown, high-risk path of application and potential rejection.
The third roadblock is brutally honest: laziness and a lack of discipline.
This covers the simple unwillingness to make the sacrifices. Hitting the snooze button, lounging on the couch, wasting hours scrolling.
We're constantly performing a cost-benefit analysis, aren't we?
All the time. When you think about the sacrifices required, the early mornings, the difficult conversations, the budgeting, if you unconsciously decide the discomfort isn't worth it, you choose inactivity. Willpower gets you moving. Discipline keeps you moving. Without both, we just settle for the path of least resistance.
And finally, the fourth major roadblock: a fear of failure, rejection, and judgment. Let's talk about Sabrina. She had this brilliant, fully researched idea for a local fundraising initiative. Everything was ready.
But she froze before dialing the first number. She was consumed by catastrophic thinking. What if no one shows up, or what if the event loses money?
So she just abandoned the idea entirely. And the book notes she immediately felt a sense of relief.
That relief was self-preservation. She protected herself from the potential pain of failure or rejection. But the hard truth that Walter presents is this: failure doesn't happen when you try and fail.
When did it happen?
Failure happens the moment you decide not to try at all.
That reframing is so potent. Choosing not to act is already accepting the worst-case scenario.
It really is. And if procrastination is a set of these internal barriers, then the substitution has to be a cognitive and mental shift.
The book states it pretty definitively. Beating procrastination is 100% mental effort.
There is no magic formula, no fail-proof strategy. It all comes down to your mindset. Your mindset is the lens through which you view every single challenge.
Let's look at the case of Donald. Donald idolized self-sufficient entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs and wanted to start his own venture. He had the dream, but the moment he encountered the reality of it all.
The reality being large financial risk, the need to budget, cutting out luxuries, he just gave up.
He fixated entirely on the negatives, didn't he?
Completely. He focused on what he would lose rather than what he would gain. He was uncomfortable with uncertainty, and instead of enduring that temporary discomfort, he just settled back into his unfulfilling job. He chose comfort over purpose.
So Donald lacked an adaptable mentality.
If he had accepted the temporary uncomfortable status as the prerequisite for success, he would have persevered. And this brings us to the 3 crucial mindsets we absolutely must adopt.
Okay, what's the first one?
Mindset 1, it's worth it. This is all about connecting with your motivator. Why? Why are you putting yourself through this? The deeper the answer, the stronger your motivation will be when the work feels pointless.
So you have to assign value to every small action.
Yes. If you're like Janet, overwhelmed by tax law research, you assign it value not as boring tax law, but as a necessary step that gets you one day closer to opening your restaurant.
You're connecting the mundane, unpleasant task to the massive, desirable end goal.
And that connection makes it bearable, and crucially, makes it worth the effort.
Okay. Mindset 2, comfort and discomfort. This is where the goldfish analogy comes in.
Right. The goldfish gets used to its bowl. If you move it, it's uncomfortable, but it adapts. You have to accept that discomfort is your new normal on the path to success.
Change is inherently disruptive and uncomfortable.
Always. If you want to achieve fitness goals, you must get used to the feeling of sore muscles, or what the book calls the necessary pain. Taking a day off every time you feel that pain ensures failure.
So what's the actionable tip here?
You have to actively seek out and practice doing new, uncomfortable things. Speak to strangers, learn a difficult skill, practice what you're worst at. The faster you expose yourself to discomfort, the faster your mind accepts change.
It's about building up a tolerance for that psychological friction.
Exactly. You are literally making the feeling of uncomfortable a less compelling reason to stop.
And mindset 3, education, lifelong learning. This is the mindset of continuous improvement.
Success requires constant adaptation and knowledge acquisition. The book encourages getting into the habit of knowledge seeking through books, seminars, courses. It reminds us that the more you learn, the more you earn.
And lifelong learners are always equipping themselves.
Which directly combats that feeling of stagnation and inadequacy that so often feeds procrastination.
So we've established the mental baseline. Now let's move into the scientifically proven behavioral strategies that can actively crush procrastination. The first concept is a big one: time inconsistency.
This is that self-sabotaging habit of consistently valuing instant gratification over long-term rewards.
It's the core battle between your present self and your future self.
It is. Your future self, that's the successful, driven, organized version of you, sets the big goals. It creates the vision board and schedules the intense work.
But the present self is the one who actually has to execute.
And the present self is addicted to instant enjoyment. It lacks the patience to wait for that future reward.
So the present self is busy taking an hour-long nap or watching TV instead of working on that side contract that's supposed to pay off the mortgage.
It's effectively destroying the future self's plans. The present self is actively betraying the future self.
The betrayal is constant.
It is, because the brain is hardwired to prefer immediate certain pleasure over deferred, uncertain gain. So the big question is, how do we fix this internal conflict?
And the book points to a fantastic solution developed by behavioral expert Katie Milkman: temptation bundling.
This is revolutionary. I mean, it's a game changer because it eliminates the suffering associated with hard work.
How does it do that?
By combining the long-term goal, the thing you need to do, with instant gratification, the thing you desperately want to do. Instead of avoiding the suffering, you embed the reward directly into the task.
So like working out only while you watch your favorite reality TV show.
That's the classic example. Or letting yourself soak your feet in warm water only while you write or study. You create a scenario where the only way to get that quick pleasure is by advancing the hard goal.
That's genius.
Yeah.
It completely bypasses the need for raw willpower.
Milkman's research found that this system drastically increased compliance. We see it in the story of Sarah and Edna, the coders. Sarah procrastinated, rushed her project, and lost the client due to errors.
But Edna was different.
Edna created a system. She broke her work into small chunks, say 20 pages of code per day, and established a rigid reward system afterward. Her work was error-free, she met deadlines, and she acquired new clients. She systematically addressed her own time inconsistency.
So to apply this, you need to be intentional. You make 2 lists: guilty pleasures and necessary tasks.
And then find a creative, non-negotiable connection. For example, if you love expensive coffee, you only allow yourself that specific, costly brew when you are reviewing your financial budget.
Next up, the strategy of start small.
Yeah.
This is the tactical method for eliminating inertia.
Inertia being that couch lounging resistance to change, we need to create forward momentum.
And the paralysis comes from the sheer size of the goal. The book uses the analogy of climbing a wall with pebbles.
Right. You shouldn't look for massive boulders to grab onto. You break the task down into the smallest possible components, so the first step is ridiculously easy.
And this strategy has 2 essential parts.
First, the size reduction. Focus on losing 1 pound this week, not 100 pounds this year. Second, and this is a bit counterintuitive, start with the easiest component of the task first.
Why is that important?
Because completion builds confidence. If you're writing a dissertation, don't start with the intimidating methodology section. Start with the research or the outline. Once those easy parts are done, you've built momentum, your confidence is boosted, and you are mentally prepared to tackle the more difficult sections. You've proved to yourself you can execute.
And finally, a fascinating concept: productive paranoia.
This comes from observing hyper-successful people like Bill Gates, whose habits were detailed in Jim Pollan's book, Great by Choice.
And it's a highly vigilant, active evaluation of worst-case scenarios.
It's not generalized anxiety, though. It's a focused fear that motivates hard work. By developing contingency plans and constantly trying to avoid the worst possible scenario, bankruptcy, a failed launch, a market collapse, you are motivated to work excessively hard.
Which naturally eliminates space for procrastination.
It's using fear as an accelerant. The book notes a less pleasant but highly effective motivator is thinking about the consequences of not acting. If you choose to binge watch a series instead of finishing that critical proposal, the worst-case scenario is losing the contract. That fear of loss, when used in small, directed doses, can be an incredibly powerful driver.
Okay, we've spent so much time in the brain, the psychological, the cognitive battle. But the book makes this crucial pivot. You can't win the war against procrastination if the body, the engine itself, is running on low-quality fuel.
This is the often overlooked physical link between diet, exercise, and focus. And we need to acknowledge that the body has limited energy reserves.
And every major function, including digestion, requires a lot of that energy.
A lot. If you eat a massive, calorie-dense meal, like a huge plate of spaghetti, your body diverts energy away from the prefrontal cortex and straight into your digestive system. The result: instant lethargy and an inability to concentrate.
It's the chemistry behind the food coma.
Exactly. High carbohydrate and sugary foods cause an excess insulin production. That insulin surge leads to high levels of sleep hormones, specifically tryptophan and serotonin.
Which are great when you're winding down for the night.
But catastrophic for a 2 p.m. deadline. When you feel sleepy, your productivity just crashes. And critically, willpower is not infinite. It's fueled by glucose. If your blood sugar drops too low, or if you flood it with sugars that quickly crash, your willpower reserves are instantly depleted.
So the brain, when it's starved, just defaults to the easiest option.
Delay, comfort, and procrastination. We need foods that provide sustained brain power.
Okay, let's give the listener the essentials on what to eat, not the chemistry textbook, but the outcome. How do these foods help us focus?
Absolutely. Let's start with chickpeas. They're great because they are high in magnesium, and the function of magnesium is that it's critical for energy metabolism and helps speed up messaging to the brain. It also relaxes blood vessels, ensuring better blood flow to the brain.
Which means sustained alertness.
Precisely. Then there's the surprising inclusion of crab.
Like a crab.
Because it contains phenylalanine, an amino acid needed to manufacture dopamine, noradrenaline, and adrenaline. These are the key neurotransmitters responsible for motivation, alertness, and driving action.
Got it. And walnuts.
Walnuts are packed with omega-3 fatty acids. We need omega-3s because they are the building blocks for neurotransmitter function. Research consistently links higher intake to larger brain volume and higher cognitive test results. They literally help rebuild a healthy brain.
I noticed buckwheat on the list, too.
It acts as a natural mood enhancer, and combined with its high tryptophan and magnesium, it helps calm emotions while stabilizing focus. A great gluten-free option.
For long-term protection, we have celery.
Celery contains luteolin, which helps manage and reduce age-related memory loss and brain inflammation. It's a defender against cognitive fatigue.
And the anti-inflammatory superhero, turmeric.
Its active component, curcumin, stimulates neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells, and is strongly linked to slowing Alzheimer's progression and boosting memory.
And to round it out,
Red meat, in moderation, for B12, crucial for healthy nerve and brain function. And blueberries, which are continually linked to improved memory retention and sharper thinking. If you want to perform like a Ferrari, you can't fuel up with cheap gasoline.
And that physical fuel requires physical activity. The book notes this common trap. We procrastinate on exercise, which makes us less effective, which then makes us procrastinate more.
But look at highly successful people. Starbucks' Michelle Gass, Vogue's Anna Wintour, Richard Branson. They all start their day with structured activity.
And this isn't just a lifestyle choice, is it? It's a productivity hack.
It is. First, exercise keeps you focused and alert. It stimulates blood flow to the brain at an accelerated pace, which directly translates to increased awareness and sharpness.
Second, and this is the counterintuitive point people need to hear, exercise increases your energy levels.
When you feel tired, exercising is the last thing you want to do. But low to moderate exercise actually improves your body's efficiency at transferring oxygen and glucose throughout the body and brain, resulting in a net energy gain.
Third, exercise enhances brain function.
The link is direct. Sedentary individuals score lower on cognitive tests. A study from Swinburne's University showed that exercise led to better decision-making, concentration, and focus.
And for those working on complex projects or struggling with writer's block, this is massive.
The Journal of Experimental Psychology found that taking a walk, even an indoor one, fueled a dramatic 60% increase in creative output. Movement generates new ideas.
And finally,
Structured physical activity drastically improves your work-life balance. It forces better time management and increases your confidence in handling competing demands. Exercise is not a task you cross off the list after you're productive. It's the engine that powers the rest of your productivity.
Okay, so with the mind fueled and the body active, we need to create external structure. The book highlights a brutal statistic.
Oh, the New Year's resolutions one.
80% of New Year's resolutions are abandoned by the second week of February, primarily because they remain these vague, verbalized statements. There's no written plan.
Success is a decision that requires articulation. When you commit your dream to paper, a vague uphill struggle transforms into quantifiable forward progress. That tangibility provides both long-term vision and short-term motivation.
So, strategic goal setting. The first step is to start backward.
You have to be able to visualize the goal with what the book calls creative reality. See the finished book, the thriving restaurant, or the financial independence, regardless of your current circumstances.
That image provides the destination for the GPS.
And when you're writing these goals, there are specific tactical instructions. First, use positive present statements. You have to trick your subconscious mind into believing the goal is already achieved.
So instead of "I hope to write a book," you write "I've written a book by December 31st."
Exactly. And second, be specific. Include dates, amounts, and times. If you can't measure it, you can't track it, and you won't know when you've succeeded.
And the book advises limiting your focus to no more than 10 goals across your life categories.
Career, financial, education, family, and physical. Focus is key.
This leads us to staying power. We saw Adele, who started a charity, but she lost her drive when she faced overwhelming obstacles.
She lacked the deep motivation to carry her through the trials. And motivation isn't just a feeling. It's a system of beliefs tied to what we care about, the benefits of positive actions, and sometimes the negative consequences of failure.
So we can tap into two powerful types of motivation, external and internal.
Let's start with external motivators. These are factors outside yourself, often tied to avoiding negative consequences. The tools here are fantastic. First, accountability partners or groups.
If you have to report to someone, the fear of disappointing them is a powerful driver.
Incredibly powerful. Second, financial investment. We value what we pay for. If you put money down, an expensive course, a high-end coach, you are far more likely to finish just to avoid the waste.
And self-bribery.
This is leveraging the present self's desire for immediate gratification. You promise yourself a reward if and only if you follow through on the difficult task.
So on the internal side, we have internal motivators, driven by deep desire and passion.
Happiness, fulfillment, purpose. These are the gold standard because they sustain you even when the external motivation fades.
So how do you tap into that?
The book provides key questions that you must answer and review daily. What will you gain? How will it change your life? How will your family benefit? And fundamentally, how will it make you feel? Writing these answers down and reviewing them daily fuels real perseverance.
And a strong motivator has to overcome the fact that success requires sacrifice. That's the opportunity cost.
Giving up something to get something back, it's a constant cost-benefit analysis. Is missing Friday nights with friends worth the accountant class needed for the dream job? If your motivation is stronger than the cost, you persevere.
And if it's close,
You either need to increase the motivation or find ways to minimize the sacrifice, like meeting friends after class, not forfeiting the whole night.
and we forget our goals so easily. This is where visual cues become tactical tools.
Catherine Milkman's elephant statue study showed how effective obvious reminders are. You need strong sensory inputs. A picture of your children, a scent associated with the goal that forces you to remember.
And here's the key application tip from the book.
Move those cues around frequently. If they become part of the furniture, your brain filters them out and they lose all their power.
This transitions us perfectly into creating mental models. When we face an obstacle, we need rules, a personal manifesto to make quick decisions instead of relying on willpower, which is always depleting.
These rules act as cognitive shortcuts. Let's look at David the writer. David kept promising himself he'd write his novel after a long day of work.
But he was always tired.
So he'd give himself leeway, promising to write 2 chapters tomorrow. He eventually felt so overwhelmed by the accumulating debt of missed chapters that he never started.
His failure was decision fatigue.
Totally. If he had one strict written rule writing 1 chapter nightly, no matter how tired, he eliminates the decision entirely. The rule forces progress.
So let's cover the 5 rules for this manifesto. What's number 1?
Rule 1. Assess yourself. Ask the core question. If it weren't out of fear or laziness, would I still give up?
And that forces immediate self-awareness.
It makes you confront the real barrier, a lack of willingness to work instead of rationalizing a lack of talent.
Rule 2. A maximum of 3 tasks.
A massive to-do list guarantees feeling overwhelmed and triggers procrastination. You have to focus only on the 3 most important tasks daily, prioritized by impact.
And this is essential for differentiating action from pointless motion.
Right. Arranging your bookshelf for an hour before starting research is pointless motion. It feels busy, but it moves nothing forward.
Rule 3. Create a code of conduct.
This is a strict, visible, written set of rules. It includes daily requirements like read 10 pages and limitations like only watch 1 hour of TV. The code clarifies your intentions and acts as an external enforcement mechanism.
Rule 4. Revisit your intentions.
When motivation is low, you must read your written statements. I want the end goal. I will the journey. And I won't. The specific behaviors you will avoid, like I won't spend 2 hours gossiping.
Repetition keeps the mission alive.
And finally, Rule 5, the 10-10-10 rule. This is the crucial pause button that forces you to consider future consequences. When faced with a temptation, you ask yourself 3 questions.
How will I feel about this choice 10 minutes from now?
10 hours from now.
And 10 days from now?
Exactly. If I'm scrolling Netflix at 11 p.m., I feel great in 10 minutes. I might feel a little annoyed in 10 hours because I'm tired, but in 10 days, if that habit repeats, I'll feel profound regret over all the lost productivity. The rule forces guilt and regret now, which compels a better choice.
All right, the journey to crushing procrastination starts with that initial push. The book provides this powerful series of actionable tips that, if you implement them consistently for 21 days, can really move you from procrastination to habit.
And we've organized these highly tactical steps into logical themes for you. We begin with the most difficult part, mental cleanup.
You can't maintain focus if your mind is scattered.
Scattered focus is like fragmented sunlight. It's everywhere but effective nowhere.
The biggest source of clutter is worry. So the book has this worry exercise.
It's essential. You categorize every worry into 4 columns: problem, level of control, benefit, and actionable steps. By doing this, you instantly stop worrying about things you can't influence, freeing up massive amounts of mental capacity.
And tied to this is the need to complete unfinished business.
Unchecked tasks, even minor forgotten ones, cause unconscious stress. You have to find all those old to-do lists, write down every started but not finished task, and schedule concrete completion dates.
And addressing the noise, internally and externally. Internally, we must abandon negative self-talk.
That inner critic, the one that manifested in Jason's perfectionism and Sabrina's fear, it creates doubt and leads to inaction.
So how do you fight it?
It's a simple process, but it requires consistency. Recognize the voice, actively challenge its statements by asking for evidence, reframe the negative thought, and track your wins to develop a growth mindset.
Externally, we must cancel negative people.
Negativity is emotionally exhausting. It stimulates destructive emotions that create lethargy and chip away at your resolve. You have to preserve your energy.
So what are the action steps?
They're direct. Identify the energy drains, set firm time limits with family or friends who are consistently negative, and set boundaries with coworkers. Refuse to engage in non-work-related drama. You don't need to correct them, you just need to disengage.
Okay, next theme, time and focus systems. This starts with conducting weekly reviews.
If you fail to measure productivity, you can look busy for 80 hours a week and accomplish nothing. Stagnation loves a lack of accountability.
The review should be 30 minutes, max.
Review uncompleted tasks, not just what you failed, but why. Repeat what worked well, maintain a zero inbox, and, crucially, plan the next week's priorities so you start Monday with direction, not decision fatigue.
Another powerful habit. Start waking up early.
All the highly successful people do it. Waking up late disrupts your natural circadian rhythm, causing anxiety and lethargy.
The key is consistency, right?
Same time every night, even weekends. Put your alarm across the room to force motion and have a planned, motivating morning routine ready to go.
A major time sink is communication noise. We need to stop responding to messages immediately.
This immediate response addiction creates ADHD-like distraction. Even a quick email reply takes the brain 20 minutes to recover focus.
So you need to forget digital etiquette.
Prioritize in-person work. Check emails and texts only twice a day, batching the activities.
This feeds directly into eliminating distractions.
Switch off all non-essential notifications and close browsers. Prepare for distractions by setting firm boundaries with loved ones. And learn to recognize the subtle signs of internal distraction, the sudden need for a snack, the impulse to check a news site.
And finally, under systems, a modern paradox. Stop using productivity apps.
It's ironic, isn't it? Too many new calendars and note-takers cause confusion and open the door to distraction. We start believing the app is responsible for productivity, not the underlying habit.
So the advice is to simplify.
Use one app per purpose. Take inventory and combine your tools. Focus on the core features you need, not the novelty.
Okay, our final theme, overcoming inertia and complacency.
Getting into motion. This starts with apply the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, sorting junk mail, putting away dishes, do it immediately.
This simple rule prevents small tasks from piling up.
And more powerfully, we can apply Newton's first law of motion. An object in motion stays in motion. Set a timer for just 2 minutes to start any new habit reading, writing, running. Those 2 minutes often turn into 10, then 20, because you've overcome the initial resistance.
Next, we must address the difficulty of choice. Make decisions quickly, no more paralysis by analysis.
Indecision is a massive form of procrastination. It erodes self-confidence and wastes time. You have to accept that you must sacrifice something. Stop the excessive research, gather just enough information to make a comparison, then commit.
And deal with the difficult decisions first thing in the morning.
When your willpower is at its highest, before decision fatigue sets in.
This is directly related to stop seeking instant gratification.
That addiction to instant pleasure steals time, encourages impulsiveness, and ultimately leads to profound dissatisfaction when long-term goals fail.
You have to list your specific temptations and keep your goals visible at all times.
And practice small acts of delayed gratification. Delay sending that text for 15 minutes, then 30. Identify your triggers and avoid them.
And one of the most common excuses, stop waiting for the right time to act.
Now is not a good time is just an excuse.
Yeah.
The perfect time does not exist. Waiting leads to complacency and missed opportunities.
So get uncomfortable with complacency.
Take progressively larger actions despite imperfect circumstances. Apply for the job, launch the business. You are training your brain that intentions are meaningless without the action to fulfill them.
And finally, a challenging tip. Stop accepting mediocrity.
Setting low goals and putting in minimum effort is choosing the easier existence, but it inevitably leads to stagnation and jealousy of those who succeed.
So what's the fix?
Visualize what you truly want. Get a mentor or a coach to force you to raise your standards. Make excellence your standard in everything, from washing dishes to making the bed. Be willing to do what others won't. And yes, cut down on TV time, which is the perfect procrastination loop.
We've broken down the architecture of success, diagnosed the roadblocks, fueled the engine with science-backed nutrition and exercise, and provided a really tactical blueprint for crushing procrastination.
And the book's central insight is so clear. Procrastination is highly enjoyable.
For a little while.
Until the inevitable stress and anxiety of all those uncompleted tasks hits you.
And here's the essential wisdom, isn't it? Do not fall into the trap of learning procrastination.
Yes, that is, reading book after book, watching deep dive after deep dive without ever applying any of the knowledge. You have to start applying what you know now. Knowledge without application is just data storage.
So before you open the next book or listen to the next summary, the instruction is clear. Commit to starting. Procrastination is a deep-seated habit.
Yep.
You will stumble.
And that's okay. Don't be too hard on yourself when you do. But every attempt strengthens your resolve, just like a muscle being worked.
Think back to the baby learning to walk.
If we gave up every time we fell, humanity would still be crawling. So what small act of falling forward, of applying just one rule, maybe the 2-minute rule or the maximum of 3 tasks, will you commit to right now?
That immediate, imperfect action, taken despite the fear and discomfort, that's the first step.
That is the first step toward soaring.
This has been a deep dive into crushing procrastination.
Yeah.
We wish you every success on your journey.